Hi, Anne. Hi, Mark.
Hi there.
I see the number of attendees is going up, so I think people are logging in. That's good. Right. Rochelle or Mike, can you pull up the PowerPoint? Okay. Thank you. So I think we can get started, and we are recording the presentation today so we can post on our website later. So welcome to the City of Milpitas Housing Resources Workshop. My name is Sharon Goey, Director of Building Safety and Housing for the City of Milpitas. First, I want to thank our nonprofit partners, Silicon Valley Independent Living Center and Project Sentinel, to work together with the city to bring this virtual workshop to our community. And I also want to thank the attendees for attending this workshop and giving the city an opportunity to engage with you and to share our resources with you. Next slide. Here, just some information regarding translation. This translation of this presentation may be available upon request, and you can contact the city staff at housing@ca.milpitas.ca.gov or the phone number you see on your screen. Next slide. Since we're using the Zoom meeting platform, here's the procedure for the workshop. We're going to have presentations first. There will be time for questions and answers at the end, so please reserve your questions until that time. During the Q&A, if you're participating in the workshop on your computer or laptop and you would like to ask questions, please click on the raise hand icon. If you're participating in this workshop by phone, please dial *9 to use the raise hand feature. And when you're called upon, you can dial *6 to unmute your phone. And staff is going to call on the attendees to begin those questions. And during the presentation, please remain on mute. And during the Q&A, you can unmute when you're called upon to ask your question. Here's an outline for the Housing Resources Workshop today. Our City Housing team, Sarah Court and Robert Muslim, will be giving an overview of the city's below market rate program, Housing Resources website, and the Milpitas Rent Relief Program. Then our nonprofit partner, Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, who's administering the Rent Relief Program, will review this program in detail. Project Sentinel, that's another one of our nonprofit partners in Tenant and Landlord resources, will review the It Takes a Village Assistance Program and tenant rights and AB 3088, that's a new state law on eviction protection. And finally, we'll have a question and answer session so you can raise your hand virtually and ask questions. As mentioned, we're going to be recording this presentation and posting both the PowerPoint and the recording on the city's website. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to our speakers, and they'll briefly introduce themselves. Sarah is going to begin on the next slide. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Court, housing planner with the City of Milpitas, and today I'll be discussing housing programs and resources that are available to the community. The first is the below market rate, or BMR, housing program. The BMR program is designed to assist very low, and moderate income households in becoming homeowners. The waiting list for the program is currently open, and we are accepting applications. After you submit an application, and if you are deemed eligible for the program, you would be placed on the waiting list until a unit becomes available in your income category. More information about the program, including the application, can be found at the link here, which we'll also post the link in the chat box, since I'm not sure if you'd be able to click on it here. So Robert's going to paste that link in the chat box. Next slide, please. To be eligible for the BMR program, you must be a first-time home buyer, meaning that you as the applicant and your spouse or any co-applicants haven't owned a home during the 3-year period prior to the date of application. So you cannot have owned a home for 3 years. And the other requirement is that your household income cannot exceed very low, or moderate as defined by the California Department of Housing and Community Development. The income limits are shown here, and they're also listed on the application. So to see where you would fall, you would identify how many individuals are in your household up at the top, and make sure that your gross annual income does not exceed the highest number at the bottom, which would represent the highest income that you could have while still being qualified for the below market rate program. So anything as moderate or below, you would qualify as in terms of income limits for the BMR program. If you're interested in applying and have any questions while going through the application process, you can feel free to contact me. My contact information will be listed at the end of this presentation and is also available on the application as well as the BMR webpage that is linked in the chat box. Next slide, please. Next is the city's housing resources webpage. The link is here on this PowerPoint and will also be posted in the chat box. By clicking the link here, you can find a variety of resources on our housing resources webpage. The first set of resources at the top of the page are related to COVID-19 assistance programs. Each of the resource categories has a plus sign that will reveal all of the resources in that category when it is clicked. Further down on the resources page, which is shown on the next slide, you'll find specific housing resources. So the same idea here, you would click on the plus sign next to any of the categories you're interested in learning more about, and it will reveal all of the resources and contact information for the different programs. And the last thing I'll be discussing on the next slide, or introducing rather, is the city's rent relief program. The Milpitas Rent Relief Program was established on October 15th, 2020. And the Milpitas Rent Relief Program provides various forms of financial relief to Milpitas residents and families who have emergency housing needs. The Silicon Valley Independent Living Center was selected to administer the program on behalf of the city. And with that, I'll hand it over to our partners at SVILC to discuss the Milpitas Rent Relief Program in more detail.
Thank you, Sarah. This is Angelica Holguin. I'm the Director of Programs at the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. I also have a staff member, Veronica Martinez. She's our Satellite Services Coordinator, and she works throughout Santa Clara County. Next slide, please. This is just explaining some of the translation services that are offered. Next slide, please. Okay. So a little bit about Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. We're a nonprofit, non-residential organization that provides free services to all persons with disabilities of all ages who seek services to help further their independence in Santa Clara County. And the city has partnered with SVILC to facilitate the rent release service to the Milpitas community. Through that, our case managers work with different individuals in the community, and our partnership includes the application process, eligibility screening, case review, and service coordination. At that point, they make a determination and payment. If they're not eligible for our services, we try to find a different service that can help them out. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to hand it over to Veronica to talk a little bit more in depth about the Milpitas Rent Relief Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Once again, my name is Veronica Martinez, and I'm part of the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. I also help in the program. Here's a few types of different assistance to help through the Milpitas rent relief. If you're behind on rent, to bring you back to current, we could also help you with rent and deposit relief if you are. We have emergency hardship as well. So help you with if you have.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Veronica. You're cutting in and out.
Oh. I'm sorry, can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you better, yes.
Sorry. Once again, my name is Veronica Martinez, and I am one of the coordinators that administrates this program for the Milpitas Rent Relief. There's a few different types of assistance available. If you are looking to move and you need help with your first month's rent and deposit, we are willing to do that as well. We'll just take a few forms to fill out and go over your budget to see how you can be sustainable after we help you with your first time rent and deposit. We also have assistance for emergency hardship as well, including COVID. We could also prevent eviction as well, and other services as domestic violence, child and family homelessness relief, and Section 8 as well. Next slide, please. There's different types of reasons why you might need help with assistance. For instance, due to COVID, we have so many layoffs, hours are being cut, household illness, disability, head of household has moved out or passed away, and of course, once again, been affected by COVID-19. Next slide. Here are a few recipients that are eligible for the Milpitas Rent Relief. Any students that are attending Milpitas High School who are experiencing homelessness can apply. I'm sorry, I see that I'm losing. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my audio. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you a little bit better.
Yeah, I have it super close to me. I don't know what's happening. I apologize.
It's okay. It's technical issues. That's where we are. Just try to maybe speak a little louder. But thank you, Veronica. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me better?
That's good.
Okay. So in order to be eligible for the rent relief, here are some few categories that can determine. Any students attending Milpitas Unified School District who are experiencing homelessness, seniors who are over 55, disabled individuals, victim of domestic violence. Also with that, we will also refer you to Nextdoor to help you with more assistance with therapy and other ways that can help you with your rent as well. Individual living in subsidized housing, including Section 8, and other residents experience high cost of living, and that's by case, and we'll determine once we have a better feel of what your situation is. Next slide, please. For the rent relief, it's provided, it's $5,000 per household per year. As you can see, we have helped over 68 households with 240 Milpitas residents since the program began in 2019. Next slide. The referral process is super simple. We will contact you. We could either meet over the phone, Zoom, or in person, and just have a few paperwork to fill out and then submit. You could also be referred. It's okay. And here's, and just you could also you can be referred through Nicole or through the city or directly contacting us. Next slide. Here's a success story that we have helped a young student who's been facing homelessness since 2019. He's been living out of his van, taking showers wherever he can, the gym, asking for a friend. And we've been helping him find his own place. And thank God before Thanksgiving, he managed to find his own room to rent and finally out of the streets and in the van. So those are one of the success stories that we help or just help the residents of Milpitas with this amazing program that we have. Next slide. Here's another family who has moved from Colombia. They were living in Milpitas for about over a half a year. They were doing amazing, starting over, having a better future in Colombia. They were just struggling due to everything that's happening at the moment in Colombia. They came out here, and due to COVID, it was just became really stressful and hard to continue with the rent due to their hours or being laid off. And unfortunately, since they don't have enough credits for EDD, they couldn't be eligible for that. So they were struggling. And with this family, we were able to help keep them from facing eviction. And now they're sustainable and they're just doing just fine. And once again, thanks for this amazing program. Next slide. If you have any questions or you need or you want to refer anybody or you want to refer yourself to this program, please contact us. Here's our phone number, our email, and yes, I do speak Spanish, and I also have another coworker that speaks Spanish as well that can help with any Spanish speakers. Next slide. And now I'll send it over to Project Sentinel.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. There's
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, thank you. So my name is Ann Marquardt, and I'm the Executive Director of Project Sentinel, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight. And I'm going to give you a very brief overview to what the Village Approach Project is that we are offering Milpitas residents. Next slide. And we can skip the translation slide. Okay, so as we all know, COVID-19 has brought a lot of stress to everybody, not only health, but financial. And so what we're trying to do with the Village Approach is bring a number of people together, more than just the tenant and the landlord, but we also are open to bringing in the mortgage holder to see what help they can bring to, let's say, improve the tenant-landlord relationship and situation in Milpitas. And that's why we call it the Village Approach, because it's taking everybody to help out and resolve these problems. Next slide. And the next one. So what, again, we're fairly flexible in how we're administering this financial assistance through the Village program, but we figure one of the most common ways might be that we can help provide that 20% rent contribution when tenants are unable to make those payments. But as AB 3088 that Mark Thomasy will go over a little later, it's requiring that tenants pay at least 25% of the rent. And if there's a tenant household that's unable to do that, this program might be able to step in and help out there. We also want to be talking to the owners about possibly, again, in appropriate situations, lowering the rent, because it's going to take a long time for our communities to, let's say, to heal from the pandemic, financially heal from the pandemic. It's not going to be just one rent payment or a section of rent payments. This is going to be a much longer process to heal our community. So we're going to want to be, and rents were high before the pandemic. So we want to be talking to the landlords, to the property owners, to see what they can do to help out in the long run. And we're expecting everybody to negotiate in good faith. And so then we also are going to be asking property owners if they would like us to go to the bank, to the mortgage holder, and discuss possible forbearance agreements, to extend a forbearance agreement if one is already in place. But how can we help that small mom and pop housing provider get through this as well? We're assuming that these are cases where they've already suffered a lack of rent payments, and the future is uncertain. So so once we have the landlord and the tenant agreeing on a rent payment plan, and hopefully maybe reducing future rents moving forward, talking to the banks and seeing what they can contribute to this individual household, then we're going to look at the subsidy that the city of Milpitas is providing to see what we can bring in to this scenario to help out even further. Okay, next slide. And the process, next slide. Okay, so we're, it can be the tenant or the property owner contacting us, and we will take in the case. We have very little paperwork to do on this, but there are certain specific questions we're going to need answers and basic documentation to ensure that who we are assisting are low income tenants and housing providers associated with low income rental situations. Once we have the case taken, let's say intaken, we will then contact the other party. So let's just say that it was the tenant who first contacted us. We take down the essential information, we get verification of the low income status. Then we're going to go over and contact the property owner and introduce the program to them, explain to them how we can be of help to them and the tenant landlord relationship. We will then again go through the negotiations. We have a panel of volunteer mediators available to step in and to help with this communication. And again, the last step in it is if the property owner would like us to contact the mortgage holder, we have HUD certified mortgage counselors available who will contact the bank. Next slide. So again, the village approach consists of multiple parties: tenant, property owner, financial institution, our HUD certified mortgage counselors, our tenant landlord counselors, our volunteer mediators. Next slide. And the goal is, again, these are some of the possible options available to the housing provider, to the landlord, if we were to be contacting the bank: mortgage modification, reduce past rent payments, past due payments, that is, I'm sorry, to the bank, and grant a COVID forbearance, extend a COVID forbearance. And other options might be just a straight donation by the bank, which of course we'll be very happy to accept, because again, we want that bank to be part of the solution. Next slide. The program appears to be really simple in concept, but the biggest problem we see that we have been facing but for the past number of months is that no one knows what the future holds. We know that AB 3088 was passed. We know most of the provisions of how that that legislation operates. I mean, there are still some mysteries to it, but we know the basics, but we don't know if the law is going to change even more. And I think a lot of tenants and a lot of housing providers are hoping for more relief than what's on the table right now. And we hope that as much relief that's available will be coming forth. I mean, as much as possible. But what you're getting tonight is what exists today. And so this program is open and available. And we certainly hope that tenants and property owners will avail themselves of this service. So I think that might be the last slide. Let's see if there's another one in there. Okay, thank you very much. Mark Thomasy is next.
Good evening. My name is Mark Thomasy. I'm the tenant landlord counselor for Milpitas, working for Project Sentinel. And so my role really, when we get calls or emails from tenants and landlords, is really to educate both parties. We're neutral. We don't advocate necessarily for tenants or landlords. We just try to make sure that all the parties have complete information to understand what their rights and responsibilities are. If there's a legal case involved, maybe the tenant has received an eviction notice or the landlord wants to give the tenant some type of termination or eviction notice, I will typically I'll refer the parties to attorneys, whether it's the Law Foundation of Silicon Valley or to attorneys that specialize in evictions for the landlords, because we don't give specific legal advice, just general information about what the regulations are at the moment. Next slide, please. And next. So I'm basically going to focus on what's the new state law that went into effect on September 1st, what's known as Assembly Bill 3088, more actually described as COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act of 2020. So basically, renters unable to pay rent due to COVID-19 related financial distress are protected from eviction. They can never be evicted for rent that was not paid from March to August. They can never be evicted for unpaid rent from September to the end of January if 25% of the rent that was due during that 5-month period is paid by the end of January next year. Now, at the moment, the law is scheduled to end at the end of January. So unpaid rent. So under the Santa Clara County eviction moratorium, which expired at the end of August, unpaid rent from March to August is due at the end of February next year. 50% is due. And then all of the unpaid rent from that period is due at the end of August. Landlords can use small claims court for unpaid rent beginning March 1st next year. And under this law, just cause eviction protections that exist under another law, AB 1482, apply to all renters at least until January 31st. Beginning February 1st, renters must pay the full rent to be protected from eviction unless the law is extended, which is certainly a possibility. Next slide, please. So what renters must do if a landlord demands payment. If a landlord believes that the tenant may or may not be protected under this law, and the landlord wants to demand payment, no longer can the landlord give a 3-day notice to pay or quit. It must be a 15-day notice to pay or quit, and the landlord must serve a blank declaration form. This is a declaration form that the tenant has to sign under penalty of perjury that states that they're unable to pay rent due to financial distress that's related to COVID-19. They must return that declaration form to the landlord within 15 days. And as I said earlier, as long as they submit the declaration form to the landlord, they can never be evicted for unpaid rent during that period of March to August. And if the tenant does not pay any rent, if the landlord wants to demand rent payment for the period of September through January, again, there's a separate 15-day notice of pay or quit. And the tenant again must sign the declaration form and return it to the landlord. But in addition to that, the tenant's required to pay 25% of the rent that was due during that 5-month period by the end of January. Again, renters must pay the full rent beginning February 1st unless the law is extended. At that point, the landlord could use a 3-day notice to pay or quit, assuming the law is not extended. Next slide, please. The unpaid rent is not forgiven. It's still owed to the landlord, but under the county eviction moratorium, the repayment schedule that was part of that moratorium is still in effect. So 50% of the unpaid rent from March to August is due at the end of February. All unpaid rent from March to August is due at the end of August. And all unpaid rent from September through January is due on January 31st, again, unless the law is extended. Now, the important point here is that any unpaid rent from that whole period, from the beginning from March through the end of January, assuming the tenant did pay the 25% for that 5-month period, it becomes consumer debt. So the landlord cannot base an unlawful detainer, an eviction action, on that unpaid rent. The landlord can take the tenant to small claims court, and there's no monetary limit. Previously, the landlord might be subject to a $5,000 or $10,000 monetary limit, but under this law, there is no monetary limit. If the tenant owes 20, 30, 40, 50,000, the landlord can use small claims court to take the tenant to court to try to get a judgment for that amount. Next slide, please. The answer is tenant can still be evicted for at-fault just cause reasons if the violation is not corrected. So let's say the tenant brought in an unapproved person, brought in an extra resident without the landlord's permission in violation of the contract. As long as the landlord provided the required 3-day notice to perform or quit to correct the violation, and the tenant still did not correct the violation by removing the unauthorized occupant, the landlord would be able to proceed with an eviction based on that reason. Also, under this law, the landlord can evict for what's known as no fault just cause reasons. And there's just a few of them, such as owner move-in, taking the property off the rental market, if it's required by a government order, or if the landlord's going to demolish the property, which is another way of taking it off the rental market, or for substantially remodeling the property, but only if it's necessary to maintain or restore habitability of the property. Now, I will say that I didn't put anything about the Center for Disease Control, CDC, eviction moratorium on here because it was scheduled to expire in a very short time at the end of this month, December 31st. However, I just heard on the news today, it looks like that's going to be extended by 1 month. So that law does prohibit, as long as the tenant qualifies, and there's some additional requirements that are not on the declaration form for the state law, but as long as the tenant qualifies, it does protect tenants from no fault evictions. I would encourage tenants or landlords, if you have that type of situation where you want to terminate, or if there's a termination or eviction, for one of these no fault reasons, please give us a call or give Law Foundation of Silicon Valley a call, discuss it with them, because things have gotten a little, there may be some protections. Generally, the state law is more protective than the federal CDC law, but this is perhaps one area where the CDC law could be more protective for that limited period of time till the end of January. The other thing that this law did, the state law, is it greatly increased the penalties for illegal lockouts. Sometimes landlords, they get very frustrated. We see this more with shared housing situations. The landlord might be renting 1 or 2 rooms out in their own house where they live. The tenant doesn't pay the rent. The landlord knows that it can be very expensive and a long process to evict the tenant for that reason, maybe impossible right now. And so the landlord decides to do what's called a self-help eviction, where the landlord will simply lock the tenant out. Tenant leaves for the day, the landlord will lock them out. Previously to this, the penalties were relatively mild, $100 per day, civil penalty, actual damages, possible attorney fees. But now under this new law, the penalties are greatly increased between $1,000 and $2,500 for illegal lockouts. Next slide, please. Now, small businesses under the county eviction moratorium, the protections for commercial tenants, at least small business commercial tenants, was extended until the end of March. Small, what is the definition of small? It really depends on the Small Business Administration size standards. If you go to that website, there's a chart that will show you, depending on the type of business they have, what industry they're in, it can vary. It may be gross receipts of $7 million per year, something like that. But anyway, if they qualify as a small business, then they are protected against eviction for non-payment of rent, assuming that that the reason they're unable to pay is related to COVID-19. Their business has shut down or much slower than it had been previously. So this has the same payment standards that I mentioned earlier. 50% of the unpaid rent is due 6 months after the moratorium ends. So that would be 6 months after March 31st. And all the unpaid rent is due 12 months after the moratorium ends. Next slide, please. So this new state law actually has protections for small landlords as well, not just tenants. And the full act is known as the Tenant, Homeowner, and Small Landlord Relief and Stabilization Act. So this really protects landlords with either federally backed or non-federally backed mortgages. They can request a forbearance in order to avoid foreclosure. And it's very simple. They simply contact their mortgage servicer to request the forbearance. If the forbearance is denied, the lender must provide a detailed explanation why it was denied or what missing information was not provided. The owner has 21 days to correct any errors, and they're able to contest the denial. Next slide, please. So these are some resources. That's the link that will take you right to the state website. California Department of Real Estate has a great online resource, an interactive guide, whether you're a tenant, whether you're a small landlord. You can go to that, enter your information in, and it will give you a printout of what your options are, what protections, what rights you may have. And then, of course, then this is the link to the county eviction moratorium, which is particularly helpful for small business commercial tenants right now. And then, of course, we're always available at Project Sentinel, what we call our tenant landlord advice line. You can contact us by phone, email. Usually try to get back to you within 1 business day. And, we provide a lot of information by email and a lot of counseling over the phone or by email. And I think that's last slide. Next slide, please. There we go.
Thank you, Mark. So I just want to take a quick moment here. My name is Robert Muslam. I'm the Housing Authority Administrator for the city, to say thank you very much to everybody on the panel today. This information was very informative, and I think everybody in the community is a lot smarter and knowledgeable on the available resources as a result of your efforts. So I just quickly wanted to say thank you. Here on the Contact Us page, you have representatives from the city and our information, as well as Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, Project Sentinel, and we also have from the Milpitas Unified School District, we have Nicole Stewart on the line as well. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll put the slide back up, but if we can go to the next slide, just to kind of run through how we're going to do our Q&A here for you, because we have about 18 minutes left. So meeting attendees who wish to speak during the Q&A must click on the raise hand icon when staff calls for questions or comments. If you're participating by calling in on your phone, just dial *9 to use the raise hand feature. And then when you're called upon, you'll have to hit *6 to unmute your phone. And then we will let you know when to begin speaking. As a quick note, and I've seen some of this in the chat, so just to kind of let you know, this meeting is being recorded and the chat is public with everybody. So please refrain from putting any private information on there. Should you need to contact somebody from the staff, we're happy to give you our email or phone information and we can connect with you offline. But also, please refrain from speaking any personal information over the call as you ask your question. So with that, we can go back to the last slide to hold the Contact Us page up. And I will look in our attendees to see if anybody has any questions. Not seeing any questions, any hands raised. We have a hand raised. We have a few hand raised here. Okay. Could we have Mariela Hernandez unmuted, please?
Hi.
Hi, Mariela. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. I just had it was just a comment. And it's regarding about the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. I was one of the persons that received that help, and I really appreciate it. It really helped us during struggling times. But also, I refer a couple of my friends that I knew that were struggling. Her husband lost a job. The other one, they cut hours. But I was helping English, and they were helping Spanish. And the type of questions that they were doing to see if they qualify or not, I think they were just out of line. I mean, they both have kids. One of them has a son that is 18, and then they just told her, why don't you have your son work? Or why don't you work? Why are you at home? Why don't you help your husband? Why don't you work? I don't think that's the type of questions you need to ask in order to find out if you're eligible to receive the help or not. I mean, if you're calling, it's because you need it. I just think the kind of screening in order to find out if you qualify or not, I think it's not acceptable. That's the comment I had.
Thank you, Mariela. We appreciate the comment, and we will certainly talk to our partners at SVILC about their screening procedures. So thank you very much for the comment.
You're welcome.
And I see we have one more hand raised. If we can have that person unmuted. Oh, we have two, but we can have one of them unmuted. And I believe that is Miss Garcia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Yoli Garcia. I'm a resident of Milpitas. I have a question on the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. What was placed up on during the presentation is on their website. Is there more details regarding the programs that they provide? Because what was provided in this presentation to me was not enough to explain what each of the program does or how it helps or how, and I have to say, going back to the last person that spoke, I've had a couple of Milpitas residents that have gone to the SVILC for help, and I've also gotten the same information from them. They did not get the help that they were expecting anyway. So those are just my comments.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. I would encourage you, if you or anybody in the community has had, is not having as much luck finding the resources they need, to reach out directly to myself or Sarah at the city, and we're happy to further assist you and maybe talk through some of the requirements that that the Independent Living Center has in regards to this program. So please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're happy to help facilitate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have 3 hands raised. Mr. Weinstein.
Yes, thanks very much for this presentation. I got actually 3 questions, and you can take them after I answer them. But it seems to me that there's a number of housing assistance that's missing from here, unless the county's changed it. But for the last 10, 15 years, there's been a few organizations that we've been able to work, especially with the lower income for her first-time home buyer programs. Is it just that this group doesn't deal with those, or all those county programs out? Second question that I'd like addressed is, my understanding is that the CDC information is irrelevant in California, because in the CDC regulations, it clearly states that if the state has got more restrictive policies, then it should be the state that everybody is going to, and not the CDC. And the third comment is, I attend a lot of housing things, both at the state and federal level. And I would encourage all of you to get together and figure out what language you're going to use. I'm a little surprised. Project Sentinel, I think her name's Margaret, used what is now what I believe is the politically correct term of housing provider in a number of meetings, especially down in Maxine Waters' district in Southern California. Landlord is now considered to be a institutionally racist term, because housing providers are not lords over their tenants. So I don't know why that hasn't got up here, but I was in a meeting this morning that came up again. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. So I can address the first one in terms of the county resources. We wanted to provide a Milpitas focused resource program update. Essentially, a below market rate housing program is primarily geared towards residents of Milpitas. We just recently did a workshop with Empower Santa Clara County, Empower Homebuyer Santa Clara County, excuse me. And they offer down payment assistance for the community at large for below market rate home ownership program. So we do have other resources on our housing webpage geared towards what the county has to offer. But for this particular workshop, we kept it very tight to what City of Milpitas can offer. I don't have any information on your second or third question, but I appreciate the comments. We have a few more hand raised. We have a few more hands raised. If we can get the next speaker, please.
Who's the next speaker?
It looks to be Miss Romero.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to thank Sharon for inviting me to this meeting, and as well as my group, Milpitas Family First. Excited to see that this information is going out, but I'm a bit concerned, to be honest, because really, I didn't see anything go out through the city, and I'm pretty much on social media and linked up to a lot of those. So I'm not sure if I just happened to miss it or what happened there. So I really would like to see, and this isn't just a problem with this meeting tonight, but I think it's true for a lot of the different events and meetings that are out for our residents, and that's a lack of marketing to get more people informed. Having this go out through Parent Square, through the district, would have been amazing to get more people involved in different language. I mean, it wasn't written in different languages, so that was also great. But I'd like to see maybe another one of these meetings held so that we can get more. I mean, again, this was like really last minute that I received the notification. I think it was like a week ago. And typically Marketing 101 tells you if you're going to have an event, you want to market it at least 2 to 3 weeks before. Really, it's minimum 3. But so I'd like to see more marketing on the resources available to our residents here in Milpitas, if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, this was a highly ambitious project for us. We will plan on having a second workshop in January as well to provide an update on any updates on the eviction moratorium. We thought as a group it would be highly beneficial to get out in front of the community prior to the holidays to update them and let them know what is available to them during what's usually, a fun time of year. And unfortunately for the residents this year, it's not as joyful. So we just wanted to get this out as quickly as possible. We do apologize that things weren't done, 2 to 3 weeks in advance, but we did take advantage of emailing the individuals at the school district. So we appreciate your comments. We'll try to do better and hope that we can do better in the future.
Thank you.
If I can interject really briefly from the school district, we did put it out on Parent Square. So it did go out to about 16,000 parents and staff. And yes, not with 3-week notice, but we try to get it out before the holidays, and we'll give more notice next time.
Robert, can I say something?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I wanted to just address the point about the first-time home buyer. Project Sentinel does assist with the provision of first-time home buyer classes. We work very closely with the county. They are online classes at this point of instruction that require a one-on-one counseling after the online class is taken. And so anybody who is interested in getting the first-time home buyer training that is HUD certified, contact Project Sentinel or go to our website. And the use of the term housing provider versus landlord, absolutely. I've been using the term interchangeably because, again, I'm not sure how the rest of the world is taking it, but I appreciate Joseph Weinstein's comments, and I will certainly lean further over to using the term housing provider over landlord. And then one thing I wanted to say about the Village Approach program, that does involve a rent subsidy. I don't know if I made that really clear in the presentation, and it's not limited to, let's say sometimes if a household has received prior assistance from let's say Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, you can still access the village program subsidy. The Silicon Valley Independent Living Center can, and they said that they might ask Project Sentinel to join them in helping a household in case the subsidy need exceeds $5,000. So again, these programs can be combined. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis. So I think those are the key points I wanted to make. So thank you.
Thank you, Ann. We have one last hand raised. If we can have that person unmuted, please. And hi.
Okay, my name is Rodora, and my question is about the COVID bill that just got approved. the question is about the rental assistance that allows the landlords to apply for funds on behalf of tenants. Do you guys have any more information about that? Like, how do I, like, I'm the landlord, and how do I go about applying for funds on behalf of my tenant?
That's a great question. And actually, we do have a lot of referrals from our landlord partners and our housing provider partners. So if you would like to get in touch with me directly, and as you see on the screen, there's a housing email right there at the top. Feel free to send us an email at that email address, and we'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
The email address, okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's right there on the screen, housing@ci.milpitas.ca.gov. That one right there at the top.
Okay. I don't know, maybe I want to share with you guys that a city, I don't know if it's City of San Jose, but College Cafe is offering first-time home buyers for closing costs and down payment that technically you don't pay every month if you get approved, because it's a 0% interest. College Cafe. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that resource. We appreciate it. Okay, and we have one last hand. It looks like a Charlie Green. Give it a moment here. They're just unmuting. Oh, we just muted again. Mr. Green, if you can unmute, please. Okay, it doesn't appear that we can get that person to unmute. If we appears we do have another hand up, so if we could possibly go to the next person, and then we can work with Mr. Green on maybe he's having some technical difficulties. Mr. Weinstein.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I don't know if any of you are aware, but the CARES Act has got $25 billion allocated for rental assistance. I don't know if you guys know the final details, but I wanted to encourage everybody on the call to make sure that we are contacting our state representatives to make sure that they get on this and administer it, because the information that I got out of DC is that once it was passed, that the states were going to get the money allocated within 5 days.
Great. Thank you very much for that information. Yes, we'll certainly be keeping, we'll be aware of how the state chooses to allocate those funds. And with any updates, we will certainly connect with the community at large to ensure that the community knows how those funds will be distributed. Thank you for your comment, sir. Okay, do you want to try one more time, Mr. Green? We got about a minute here. Okay, doesn't look like we can get Mr. Green to unmute. So, Nicole, did you have any final thoughts here that you wanted to share?
Yeah, thank you, Robert. First, I want to thank everyone for attending. It is a holiday week and we are close to the holidays, so I appreciate your time, and it is evening family time. So certainly appreciate your time. My name is Nicole Stewart. I'm the social worker, school link service coordinator with Milpitas Unified School District. And I refer families through to the City of Milpitas, SVILC, and Project Sentinel when I become aware of a need. So any of you who are on this call or who know folks who have children in the Milpitas Unified School District, if you find that they are experiencing literal homelessness or maybe facing eviction or kind of unstable living situation, please have them contact me directly, or you can always contact your principal or assistant principal. They know me well and I coordinate very well with them. You can also certainly talk to your child's teacher at any point, and they will send that through me. I also wanted to just mention briefly, I did hear the first two comments, and I have actually also heard those challenges from some of the families that I've connected SVILC to. But what I do want to share is that this process is long, and because it is federal funding, we do have to make sure that people actually qualify for the funds. So that means we have to ask a lot of what may feel like very intrusive questions. And one of the questions would be, if there's anyone over 18 who could physically work, have they attempted to get a job? And we just have to ask that. That's just something that, we kind of have to make sure we've checked that off the list. I know I've had students ask that, and some of them, their focus is school and others would like to work. The other questions around how many kids in the home is very important, around how much support we can provide. Certainly the more children in the home, we want to make sure that they are covered with food and definitely housing support. I also want to address the time issue. This does take time because, again, we have to provide documentation of the need. So someone can't just come to us and say, I need help with rent. We actually have to get all that documentation. And that can be tedious. I referred one family to Veronica and SVILC in August, and they just got, Veronica worked her magic and got a lot of support for this family. And it wasn't until just before Thanksgiving that we were able to relieve almost $30,000 worth of debt and provide cash assistance to those families and make sure that they were connected with monthly food delivery. So that took time, but that family got everything they needed. And those kids I'm happy to say, are thriving in school because they know that they can stay where they're living and that their parents feel more secure in the support they've been given. So I just want to put that out there. This is a very challenging process. Those of you who are experiencing it and surviving through it know that very well. So just wanted to put that out there. And again, if you have any children in the school district, please contact, and you need this support, please contact myself or your principal or your teacher, and we'll make sure that you are connected to that support. So thank you all so much for your time tonight. And I hope you all have wonderfully happy, safe, and healthy holidays. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Nicole. So yeah, that'll do it for us. We'll leave this slide up for another minute or so. So take down the information. We highly encourage you to reach out to us, and we look forward to continuing to serve you and assisting our Milpitas community in any way that we can.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi, Mr. Robert. Are you guys now finally my unmute? Can I still ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hi. So this is Norma Morales from Milpitas Unified School District. Thank you so much for this great presentation that all of you guys did. I just would like if in the near future, this would be with more advanced and maybe a little bit targeted to our Latino families, which I know they're the #1 recipients for our SVCLI team, which we appreciate very much on behalf of them. A lot of my Latino families wanted to be present here, but because of right now we are on vacation time, it was a little bit hard for them to get together. They're doing other stuff or trying to work. Sorry, I was walking. So again, thank you so much. But again, if you guys also can please do this presentation in Spanish. I can even probably work with you guys together on that. It will be amazing because like I said, most of our recipients, or probably the majority of the recipients, are our Latino families here in Milpitas, and they really would like this information, which is great. Thank you, honestly, to Silicon Valley, Veronica. I do hear a lot from our families. She's been amazing doing all this work with them. Thank you to you, Robert, with the housing, getting all the rent relief support. It is hard for everybody, definitely understand that for both parts, but also the understanding of the whole process will definitely help out our families, to be able to reach out for the support. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much.
Robert.
Appreciate the comments. Thank you. Okay. Sharon, if I could get you to unmute. I know we are at time. Are we okay to extend for another 5 minutes to answer? It looks like we have a few more hands up. I just want to confirm.
Yeah, definitely if our presenters are willing to stay for a couple minutes too, see if the questions might apply to your organization. And just want to let everybody know, we've been posting or responding to this in the chat, but we will be posting both this PowerPoint and a recording of the presentation on the city website. And we did hear just from the earlier comments about the translation, and as we kind of had a couple of slides about the translation, we'll make the presentation PowerPoint available in that as well, translated languages. So, thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of hands raised from individuals who haven't spoken yet. If we can get their hands first, and then we can go to. Yeah. Hi, Ms. Naranjo.
Hi, my name is Ana Naranjo. I use call because I want to say thank you to Veronica. Veronica is a wonderful person, and she's helped all my family with support right now when we need more. And I don't have words to say this beautiful person how to help the community. And this is what I want. I want the district, Nicole, to work more with the families. And Nicole is a wonderful person to have too many resources to help my community. Please, together, we can do it. And I want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you to Norma. Norma is another person to help Latino community, and not only Latino community, everybody. But I just say thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much for your comments. We agree with you. We believe that the folks working behind the scenes on this program and other programs in the community are doing Herculean work, and they're superhuman. So we appreciate all the efforts that all of you are doing. So thank you for sharing such wonderful feedback about the staff. And I believe we have one last hand raised, and it's Allison. So if we can have her mic unmuted, please. Hi, Allison.
Thank you. Hi, it's nice to hear your voice. I am actually working very part-time right now for Project Sentinel, and neither Mark nor Ann mentioned that Project Sentinel is doing a survey of Milpitas renters right now, and that's I'm working for them to try and help publicize the survey and their services to Milpitas renters. And I put the link, oh, I spelled it wrong. It's housing.org/survey. If anyone on the call is a renter, I encourage them to go to the website and take the survey so that it will help the city and the other organizations know how people are doing and how big of a problem we're going to have when those eviction moratoriums end. Thanks.
I want to say, Allison, thank you so much for announcing that. Absolutely, this was a perfect opportunity to, and I'm so glad you're working with us, and especially at this moment to get that out. Thank you so much. And to all tenants, please do keep your eye open for that survey and talk it up with your friends. We will have I think something like a lottery pulling for 40 $50 gift certificates, I think something like that. And because we want to spread out the benefits to as many people as possible, but the knowledge is really going to be the big benefit. So Allison, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your comments, Allison. And just to supplement what Allison was saying, so there is a link in the chat box currently to the survey, but also the city will be distributing that link through their social media channels over the next couple of weeks. And I believe there is a deadline of January 15th to complete the survey. So we just want to make sure that everybody listening knows that there is a deadline to complete that survey of January 15th.
Hi, Robert. Can I say something? This is Veronica.
Yes, it's like whoever that is, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? It's Veronica.
Miss Veronica, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for the lady that asked about Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, what other resources we have. You can reach me in the email for Housing 911, and I'm more than happy to explain all the services that we do provide. This is one of the services that we do provide is rent relief. I do have Milpitas program, but I also do have other resources that can help Milpitas residents who do max out over $5,000 if they're behind on rent. I do have other resources to help clear off that debt, like Nicole mentioned. I had one that was over $30,000, and it took me a while, but I got it done. And I will continue to do whatever I can to make sure that you'll be in a good place with your rent or any other services that you do need. Again, for also the other young lady that asked about the questions that we do ask, it's just federal. I do tell them I am not being intrusive or nosy. It's just so I could get the correct documentation to submit and provide what's needed for the funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Appreciate all your work.
You're welcome.
Okay, it looks like we do have one hand raised at the moment. And I will say we'll go ahead and at 6:15 we will cut this off in order to respect our panelists' time. We do appreciate the amount of time that you spend working in our community and working to help with all of these efforts. Abbas?
Yes, hi.
Hi, welcome.
Yes, I'm living in San Jose, California. So I have 5 kids. I live with 2 bedroom. So is there any opportunity, because of, I don't know, this one I just got on the Facebook, this information yesterday before. So how you guys to fill out the application or to get, maybe 3 bedroom or whatever to get the apartment? I don't know how you guys are gonna help me, because especially for this pandemic is very stressful. Because of all of my kids with the Zoom in 2 bedroom is really stressful for my kids, for myself, and for the dad. So, it's really hard, for this family for the last 7-8 months, especially since August, because of for the Zoom. And, it's really hard for the crowded environment in the house. So I don't know, you guys, how you're gonna help me.
Thank you, Abbas. I apologize. There might be an issue with my speakers or possibly your microphones. I'm going to ask that you be put back on mute, just because a lot of feedback on my end. But if you could just take down, I understand that you're living in San Jose, and this webinar is geared towards Milpitas residents. But if you just take down either the email listed housing@ci.milpitas.ca.gov, send us an email or call the phone number there tomorrow, and we're happy to talk through your situation a little bit more in detail and see what resources are available to you. Again, most of these programs on this webinar are geared towards Milpitas residents, but we do want to offer some assistance if we can. So please reach out to us, and we're happy to point you in the right direction.
Robert, she can reach out to us as well. She can email housing 911 at Silicon Valley.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that will do it. We're at 6:15. Again, I want to thank everybody for their time. I think we are all very appreciative of how quickly this came together, and all things considered, I think we did an exceptional job here, everyone. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And if anybody else has anything to say, I will cede and let you speak. If not, we can close this up.
Thank you, Robert, for setting this up. This was at your initiation, and thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Robert.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.
The longest night of the year, everyone.
Bye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.